What happens when you get to that place where you're like, I don't think I fucking like you.
Right. And that happens, or you recognize that there is a political rift during these particular times, right? Where, someone is absolutely on the polar opposite side, and at some level they've assumed that you are of the same ilk, um, uh, or they have other ideas, maybe social ideas, ideas about women, ideas about race, or whatever it might be that you don't hold. Is one of it happened to me. It really happened to me in my internship, where I was working with a lot of guys from Wall Street in New York. And a lot of these guys are under a ton of pressure, and it's a locker room scenario. There's a lot of misogyny, and they would come to me for anger management, because most of them were in some sort of jeopardy of losing their license to trade, because they did something not so nice to a woman. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I was raised by a house full of women. I'm pretty pro woman, knowing, how tough they can be. And so these are guys that, like, if I knew what they'd done on the street, I'd want to knock them out.
Right.
And so my supervisor at the time is putting me in a room full of guys that had done these things. And so here I am faced with this, like, I'd just as soon cut my hand off than raise my hand to a woman. And here they've done these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went into my supervisor, and she was like, yeah, you don't get to choose.
Oh, okay.
Look, I think at some level you do get to choose. If someone walks into your office and they are, just somebody that you can't, it's not so much that I don't like you. It's just, I can't provide the service that you're needing, because so much of my shit is backloaded behind me as I'm sitting there going, sure. Yeah, you fucker. No, can't do that.
Right.
So it's at that point that you find a gracious way to perhaps refer them out.
Right.
And, most states have a rule that you have to have at least three viable referrals. You don't want to look, they're a human being. You don't want to, whether you agree with them or not, you don't want to do more damage. But to finish that story out with the guys on Wall Street, was interesting to me is she made me get back in the room, and she made me exercise that muscle that I had yet to build, which was finding compassion and space for someone that I don't agree with on many levels. And what I was able to do is I was able to recognize the little boy inside all of them that was screaming out, that knew no other way to regulate themselves. And that was a really powerful learning experience for me.
Have you tried "It's not you, it's me" when you're when you're breaking up with a patient? You have to provide referrals, things like that. Have you tried "It's not you"?
You're just far too broken for me. I can't.
No, you can't say it like that. You can't say that. Don't say it like that.
Well, there's a version of that. And I've had to do it very recently, where, like, when you recognize that somebody may be outside of your wheelhouse, outside of your, and it's important for a therapist to really know what is your wheelhouse, what is your field of expertise, and when is it time for you to kind of go, yeah, the money's nice, but I need to be conscious of what's right for the client. So there's a rule around borderline personality disorder as a really good example of that. The sort of rule of thumb amongst therapists is, if you're not trained in dialectical behavioral therapy, which is specific for borderline, you should have only about one per practice. I'm not trained in that, although dialectical behavior is very akin to mindfulness. It's a lot for me energetically to deal with a borderline, because they're so needy and they so want, there's so much containment that you have to have. It's not like working with a normal person, not a normal, a person who doesn't have that, who recognizes boundaries and can go, yeah, that's not an appropriate thing to do. That's not an appropriate time to do that. So I will oft with borderline, something that's quite obviously a borderline, I will say, you know, I don't think I'm equipped to help you. And also, like, when someone is really gone down the road and having like a mental breakdown, that's also a place where it's essentially it's not me, it's you.
Right.
Yeah.